Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to our weekly Wednesday wealthy webinar. Hope you all are having a phenomenal day. We're going to go ahead and get started very shortly. If you would, in the chat boxes, say hello. Tell everyone we said hello. Hope you all are having a great day. I see we have Marcia. I'm guessing we have Hugh Hastings in the house. I see Ginger. Welcome to the webinar. Satira, good evening. Hope you're doing well. Brian and Joe, hope you all are doing well. Let's see. I forgot to do that. We're going to go ahead and get started in about 60 seconds. Going to go ahead and get started about 60 seconds. Hope the weather is good where you're at today. Want to make sure that you, in the meantime, make sure you have a pen and a piece of paper so you can take some notes. You're going to hear some good information today. I'm going to hear some great information today. And I am getting some texts from people saying they're coming. They're coming. They're coming. I got you. You're coming. We are going to get started. Another few seconds. If you have any questions, make sure you use the chat box to your right. All right. Copy link address. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Once again, my name is Chris Wilson. I am excited to be here with you today. Welcome you to our Wealthy Wednesday webinar. I don't know. Oh, yeah, I don't know. There's something like right there on my cheek, right about there. I don't know if it's my computer or whatever. Today, I'm wearing my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shirt. I don't know if you can see that. My Teenage Mutant Ninja shirt. I'm excited. I'm a big kid at heart, I guess. I want to welcome you to our Wednesday Wealthy webinar. If you would, just so I know we are hearing each other, you're able to hear me clearly, just in the chat box, just tell me your favorite day of the week. That way I know exactly that you can hear me clearly. And we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to make sure that that you all can hear me clearly. And as we do that, I'm going to go ahead and, okay, chat. I don't see anyone responding, so maybe you can't hear me. Saturday, so you can hear me. Thank you, Satira. Thank you, Satira. All right, so what I want to do is go ahead. Ginger said Wednesday. I wonder why Wednesday. We're going to go ahead and get started. Understand what to expect this afternoon. We're going to kind of tell you specifically what our webinars are about, tell you a little more about blended marketing, our affiliate agencies. we're going to talk about the 7 universal principles to building wealth. And we're going to talk about one of those in depth today. One of those in depth today. In addition to that, hold on one second. We're going to discuss some additional events that are coming on. If you are on social media, make sure that you're using the Wealthy Wednesday webinar hashtag that with Blender Marketing. You can find the Wealthy Wednesday webinar. You can tell your friends. Go ahead and tell them about it right now. The website address is wealthywednesdaywebinar.com. Once again, the website address is wealthywednesdaywebinar.com. If you go to that website, you'll be able to dial in immediately. So once again, what are our Wealthy Wednesday webinars? It's our public service campaign. It allows us to bring high-level, value-packed information to our participants. Once again, if you need to get on it, it's wealthywednesdaywebinar.com, wealthywednesdaywebinar.com. And we're discussing the 7 principles of building wealth. For those of you who are a guest of someone here, Blender Marketing and our affiliate consultants specialize in cost reduction for businesses. However, we also have a mission to educate all communities on the secrets that certain groups have known and have used to create generational wealth. There are a lot of things out here that other communities have been using. They have been maximizing, and is allowing them to build unprecedented wealth just by using some of these tools. For those who don't know anything about me, my name is Chris Wilson again. I'm originally from Silver Spring, Maryland, but I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been here for about 24 years. I'm a man of faith. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife and a phenomenal daughter who's about to graduate and go to college. I'm very excited and proud of her. I'm an entrepreneur, business owner, but my most prized title is that of philanthropist in training. If you don't know what a philanthropist is, it's someone who uses their resources, and not just money, but quite often there's a lot of money, to be a blessing to others. I was recognized by the Charlotte Business Journal as someone who's had great success in business as well as the community. They call it the 40 under 40. I did that when I was 25 years of age. I'm a musician. I love great food, and my favorite city in the whole world is Chicago. I can tell you a whole lot about my story, but let me just give it to you real quickly. I've always worked hard, but I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit because I learned very quickly that the only way to truly build wealth is to own a business system or be able to invest. And so when I was 13, my first business was that of a landscaping company. I used to cut the grass in the neighborhood. I was so successful in that when I graduated and went to college, I actually was able to sell my business to a professional landscape company. I made enough money to take care of my books and other incidentals my first year in college. But today we're going to talk about once again, what are the 7, and I hit the wrong button. Okay. Forgive me. We're going to talk about one of the 7 universal components to building wealth. We all know from our previous weeks that the first one is to be debt free. You have to eliminate your debt if you're looking to build wealth. The second thing is to have passive residual income. Hopefully one day, each one of us on this line is going to figure out a way to not have to go to work every day. And the only way to continue to live is to have passive residual income. Another component to building wealth is to maximize the tax code. I love it because right now, the only thing you hear in the media is talking about political figures who are not showing their taxes. As an entrepreneur, I believe I understand that how people use a tax code to keep more of the money that they make. And I also recognize that if everybody knew that, then the government would be in some financial trouble. Not that it isn't now. So being able to maximize the tax code is truly a component to building wealth. The next one is investments. And when we think about investments, a lot of people think about stocks and bonds. And those are investments. We have other things like annuity funds. You have real estate. You can buy and sell notes. There are a lot of different things that kind of fall in that investment category. The next one is kind of cash flow, money management, and planning. The sixth component is personal development. Having the right mindset is very, very important, and as it relates to building wealth. And the last one is about maximizing your business / personal credit. These are the 7 universal components to help people build wealth. Now, the great thing about this is that one category can fall in different. One item can fall in several different categories. Let's take real estate as an example. Real estate can fall in cash flow because the money that you make over and beyond what your debt is income. So it's going to help you with cash flow. You can use that money to plan for the future. But also, owning real estate allows you to claim depreciation. So you can maximize like interest payments and stuff like that in the tax code. Now, I'm always quick to say, we're not here to give out any tax or legal advice. Anything that you hear, please make sure that you tailor it specifically for you. So make sure you reach out to a professional. But real estate also was something good as it relates to passive residual income. So as you can see, one thing can kind of fall in several different areas as it relates to building wealth. Let's talk about it like insurance, because we're going to talk about insurance. Last week, if you weren't here, and I urge you to make sure you sign up for the replay link, because last week we talked about the pitfalls of a 401k. A lot of people put all of their money over and beyond what their company is paying them into 401k, looking for a rainy day. And what we learned last week is sometimes the way 401ks are set up, they're set up for the money managers to make money because they're charging fees that a lot of people don't know about. But sometimes the individual gets hurt because when it's time for them to take their money, they find out the amount of money they thought they had is truly not there. So we talked about 401ks, the pitfalls of 401ks. Well, tonight we're going to talk about something called an IUL, which stands for Index Universal Life. Okay. So we have been able to put together we put together a wonderful video that says screen not moving. I hope you all saw that. A wonderful video that kind of talks about IULs in detail. And if you don't know what an IUL is, once again, it's called an Index Universal Life. It's an insurance type of a product that allows you to build wealth at a really accelerated rate, but also giving you a level of protection. One of the things that people really don't understand is that wealth insurance has been used really to create wealth for a long period of time. You'll find out a lot of what we call the founding fathers use a type of surety bonds, which is basically insurance, to help bankroll the establishment of our country. And then later on, as you got into the Kennedys or before that, maybe the Rothschilds and the Fairchilds, you'll learn that they use insurance also. And you'll find in other communities, it's almost like a rite of passage to have an insurance policy. Insurance is really not designed for when you die. It's really about how you live. And they use insurance as a vehicle to build wealth. So tonight, I'm going to show you a video about IULs. And then after that, we're going to have just a brief, if anyone has any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you. So with that, we're going to go ahead and show you this quick video. I hope you enjoy. Make sure you take a pen and piece of paper. That way you can take copious notes. See you on the other side.
Three things can happen to you in your life. You live too long and outlive your money. You spend it all if you're sick, or you die too soon and leave it to your family. We really have some bad news if you have a 401k, an IRA, or a pension plan. The IRS wants you to think that qualified plans are the surefire way to prepare for your retirement. They entice you to max out your plans by giving you tax breaks right now and allow your money to grow tax-deferred over the years. but under their pretty packaging is just an empty box. Almost the worst course of action is making contributions to a qualified plan to save for your retirement. Because when you finally retire and need the money most, you're going to be taxed out of your mind. Then, when you die, the IRS will hit you with a double tax whammy. They will tax your estate when you die, and then tax the leftover amount inherited by your family. On top of the tax problems, you'll also have to deal with market volatility that can crush your portfolio. Just think about 2001 and 2008. What if there had been a way to avoid portfolio-crushing downturns in the market? Avoid enormous tax burdens during retirement, and virtually eliminate any worries you have about outliving your money during retirement. Rest easy, because there is a way, and we want to show you later on in this DVD. Let's get that retirement monkey off your back by showing you a better way, an IRS-approved tax-friendly retirement savings vehicle that blows your qualified plan out of the water. They have been around for years. They're offered by the oldest, largest, and most financially sound financial institutions in the world, and allow your money to grow tax-deferred, just like your current qualified plans. But they allow your money to be dispersed at retirement with zero taxes. Think about that. Zero taxes on your money, zero taxes on your estate when you die, and zero taxes when the money is inherited. Let that soak in. Zero taxes on your money, zero taxes on your estate when you die, and zero taxes when your family inherits the money. Zero, nada, zilch. And here's the best part. Unlike your qualified plans, there's no risk that you will lose principal or earnings during a down market. If the market tanks like it did in 2008, your worst case scenario is no gain, but no loss either. Basically, the retirement savings vehicle being described can help you avoid outliving your money during retirement. Excited? Interested right about now? We don't blame you, because we're introducing you to the best retirement savings vehicle you've never heard of. Let's start with the IRS. They desperately want you to think that a qualified plan is the best way to grow your money for retirement. Guess what? It's not even close. I'm talking about IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, pension plans, and so forth. When compared to traditional investment accounts where you hold stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, qualified plans offer some valuable tax advantages. First, you can contribute to a qualified plan with pre-tax dollars. Second, you don't have to pay taxes on the gains every year like you do in traditional investment accounts, so your money grows tax-deferred. You have more money working for you during the years leading up to retirement, and delayed paying the tax until you take the money out. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, I don't see how these qualified plans are so bad. You just said they offer valuable tax advantages compared to traditional accounts. Well, yes, but that's like saying a bicycle is the best mode of transportation. Of course, a bike is far better than walking, especially if you're trying to travel outside of your neighborhood. But what if you're trying to travel across town or cross country? You might want to try a car. And what if you're trying to get overseas? Walking or riding a bike is out of the question. You'd be much better off in a jet plane. So, just to make sure you're following the analogy, a regular brokerage account is like walking, lots of tax problems. A qualified plan is like a bicycle, better than walking, but not super helpful for long trips to retirement. The retirement savings vehicle we're about to introduce later in this DVD is like having your very own luxury private jet, fueled, fully stocked, and ready to go. Yes, it's that much better. One of the real secrets of money is understanding the difference between tax-deferred and tax-free. According to the IRS, the money you have right now in qualified plans is growing tax-deferred, which means that it will be taxed at some point in the future. Guess when that point is? That's right, when you retire and need the money the most. You probably won't be working. Tax rates will probably be higher than they are today. You won't have any deductions for kids or mortgage interest if your house is paid off, which means that you'll be paying a huge percentage of your retirement income to the IRS in taxes, which of course reduces the amount you have left over to spend on you. Uncle Sam, he's counting on you paying more than your fair share of taxes when you retire. How brilliant is that? Behind that pointed finger is a plan to give people a tax break today, because who likes paying taxes anyway, right? Let the money grow tax-deferred, so he can take a bigger chunk later. I'm all about paying my fair share, emphasis on the word fair, of taxes. But giving the IRS a bare minimum of $33,000 for every $100,000 you withdraw from your qualified plan at retirement is just plain ridiculous and almost criminal. Look, you've paid taxes and you will continue to pay taxes for your entire working career. Let's keep the government's hands out of our wallets during retirement, okay? Do you realize that $33,000 for every $100,000 you withdraw isn't a worst-case scenario either? With the probability that tax rates will rise, it's likely a real-world best-case scenario. Any right-thinking person can see that the tax rate of 40 or 50% isn't out of the question 15 or 20 years down the road. Why don't we circle back to that so-called jet plane of retirement savings vehicles? You know, the one that blows your qualified plan and regular investment account out of the water? Before we get into the nitty-gritty about exactly what it is, let's talk about the perks of traveling in your luxury private jet. First, tax-deferred accumulation. Year after year, your money grows, tax-deferred just like a qualified plan, and way better than your regular investment account. Compound interest can then work its magic, which allows your money to grow bigger and faster. Do we need to have a discussion about compound interest? If you're not familiar, just go to Google and type compound interest, the most powerful force in the universe, and find out about the greatness of compound interest. Second, tax-free distribution. Here's where your current qualified plan starts to really look unattractive. When you trade in that bicycle for the jet plane of retirement savings vehicles, your money not only grows tax-deferred, but you can also distribute the money tax-free. That means on the same $100,000 distribution, you keep all of it, regardless of the current tax rate. 30% tax rate? You won't care. You'll pay no taxes. 40 or 50% tax rate? Let everyone else worry about that. Your money can be used tax-free. $100,000 means $100,000 to spend, not $67,000 or less. Which do you prefer? Third, tax-free wealth transfer. With a qualified plan and a regular brokerage account, your money will likely be taxed twice when you pass away. Great for the IRS. Horrible for your family. The jet plane of retirement savings vehicles lands smoothly here too. Transfer tax rules are fairly complicated, and there are some limitations and exceptions. Ask a qualified professional to discuss your situation with you. Fourth, no risk of market loss. Remember when the stock market lost over half its value and your investment portfolio probably lost half or more of its value in less than 18 months, starting in October 2007? Did you start having nightmares about never being able to retire? Being 80 years old and still working part-time, saying, "Welcome to Walmart," or "Would you like to supersize that just to keep food on the table?" Your qualified plan has no way to protect you from that kind of market volatility and downside losses. Ouch! Not true with the jet plane of retirement savings vehicles. The value in the account never loses altitude. When structured properly, there's no chance it will lose any principal or earnings. Not a dime, not a penny, nothing, zero, nada, zilch. If you'd been on board with this in October 2007, your portfolio would probably look a whole lot better right now. I'll explain why and how in just a minute. Fifth, outliving your money during retirement. Every survey tells us that the fear of outliving their money is number one with baby boomers. And if you ask me, that fear should strike a chord with everyone that has a qualified plan. If you save $1 million and retire at age 65, that's pretty good if you only plan on living until you're about 70 or 75 and don't have any significant medical issues. But how do you stretch $1 million or whatever amount you have saved for 15, 20, or 30 years, especially given the increase in the cost of living and the likelihood of needing specialized care if you do end up living into your late 80s or 90s? Not to worry if you ride the jet plane of retirement savings vehicles. When structured and funded properly, it'll keep on paying and paying and paying all through your 70s, 80s, 90s, and even beyond that if you're lucky enough to hit 100. You're more likely to hit 100 if you aren't stressed out over money. Time to get on board. And that's not everything. There's more than just tax advantages. We'll cover those in just a minute. But first, why don't we clear up that question I know you have? What's the catch? Okay, this all sounds great. It all makes a lot of sense, and I'm interested. But what's the catch? We all know that anything that sounds too good to be true probably is. I hear you. Between Enron, Bernie Madoff, and the great stock market meltdowns of the 2000s, now that's enough to make any rational person nervous. So a healthy dose of cynicism, skepticism, or both is not only understandable, it's just plain smart. But those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. And those who do not learn the truth about qualified plans are doomed to fall behind. Back to that catch you're wondering about. And trust me, it's more like 6 seconds of turbulence on your 6-hour flight to retirement on your personal jet plane than a catch. Remember, different isn't always better, but better is always different. Just because you've never heard of this before doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Doesn't mean that hundreds of thousands of people aren't already using it. And doesn't mean that all of the advantages that we've talked about so far aren't absolutely real and just waiting for you. So here's the 6 seconds of turbulence. Per the IRS's rules, you must use after-tax dollars to pay for your luxury jet plane. The IRS won't let you deduct the amount of the contribution to your qualified plan from this year's taxes like you're used to doing. You have to fund your flight with after-tax dollars. That means if you were to contribute $6,000 this year to an IRA versus the jet plane of retirement savings vehicles, you'd in reality pay an extra $2,000 in taxes this year, assuming a 33% tax bracket. If you're in a lower tax bracket, naturally your tax savings would be less. That sounds like a drawback, right? Well, actually, no. To understand why funding with after-tax dollars instead of before-tax dollars like you would have with a qualified plan is not a drawback, you just need to understand the alternatives. Think about this. If you were a farmer, would you rather pay taxes on the small sack of seeds when you purchase them in the spring? Or would you rather pay taxes on your entire harvest when you sell it in the fall? Do the math. If a farmer bought $1,000 worth of seeds and was taxed at 8%, he'd pay $80. But if the farmer planted those seeds and paid the same 8% on a $50,000 harvest, he'd pay $4,000 in taxes. 80 versus 4,000. That's 50 times the amount of taxes paid. The same rationale applies to your retirement savings. In fact, the amount of money you save on upfront taxes with a qualified plan, remember, you'd save $2,000 in taxes by making a $6,000 contribution into a qualified plan, okay? Will almost certainly be dwarfed to the taxes you'd pay at retirement, to the tune of 10 times, at least. Here's why. If your $6,000 grows to $100,000 over the course of the next 30 years, remember the magic of compound interest? This is very reasonable. You'll pay at least $33,000 in taxes on the harvest. We already talked about this earlier. That's $33,000 straight to the IRS, right when you need it the most. Would you rather pay $2,000 in taxes today, or at least $33,000 in taxes later? It's as simple as the seed or the harvest. I've said it once and I'll say it again. No wonder the IRS loves qualified plans so much. It's their way of protecting Uncle Sam's financial future. Now that you know about some of the perks, let's go ahead and tour the rest of the luxury jet plane of retirement savings vehicles. Do me a favor and hear me out before jumping to any conclusions. Right up front, it might sound a little boring at first. That's because it's a life insurance product called Indexed Universal Life, or IUL for short. Stay with me. Don't be fooled by any of the stereotypes of what you may think an IUL is. This is not your father's life insurance. IUL is different than any kind of whole life or variable life or universal life plan that you may have heard about or purchased in the past. Hopefully the tax advantages and principal protection advantages we've told you about are clear enough and big enough to keep you interested. But you also need to know that the IUL, when structured and funded properly, blows your regular investment account or qualified plan out of the water, and any other kind of retirement savings vehicle in every comparison category that really matters, including growth potential, risk avoidance, liquidity of funds, flexibility of contributions, flexibility of distributions, longevity of distributions, and fees. Everything. Listen, insurance companies by law and by track record are extraordinarily conservative. Yeah, I know that AIG had some trouble, and you might be thinking that all insurance companies are going bust. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Life insurance companies that offer IULs have massive, massive cash reserves. One company, as an example, had operating revenues in 2011 of $3 billion, cash reserves of almost $4 billion, and total assets of $23 billion. There's a reason why people think of life insurance companies as old, stodgy, conservative curmudgeons. Because they are. Their stodgy curmudgeonness is also a part of the reason you've never heard of an IUL before. Life insurance companies thrive with things like risk management, actuarial tables, and other boring life insurance stuff. But they don't know squat about communication. If you need a cure for insomnia, go online right now and read their brochures. They're just plain boring and hard to understand. And that's just the table of contents. But that doesn't mean that indexed universal life is anything less than outstanding for creating wealth. The IUL, Indexed Universal Life, gets its name because it's indexed to the S&P 500, which simply means that it's linked to the growth of the S&P 500, which has averaged over 9% per year for the last 27 years, including all the crummy years in the 1980s. The dot-com bust, right after 9/11, and 2007 and 8. Remember that? And the next best part. Here's what makes the IUL so attractive as a retirement savings vehicle. Ready for it? The reason the IUL accounts won't lose value is because the lowest guaranteed return is 0%. In technical terms, they have a floor of 0%. That's right, they can't lose money. If the stock market drops, plummets, loses for the year, your IUL contract doesn't take a big hit. It just stays right where it is. An IUL participates and locks in the gains during market up years, but doesn't participate in market down years. Take that 401k, an IRA, you can't even come close to touching that. Everyone knows that investment losses are portfolio killers because you have to double up just to get back to where you were. You know, if you lose 50%, you need to make 100% to get even. You eliminate that risk with the IUL, since your floor or minimum return is 0% annual growth. No loss of principal or interest. Compare that to the devastating 38% loss of the S&P 500 in 2008. If you were indexing your IRA against the S&P 500 and therefore did not have the 0% floor like you would with an IUL contract, if you had a $1 million portfolio on January 1st of 2008, you would have ended the year with just $620,000. Ouch! Even with the big bounce back year of 2009, where the S&P returned 23.4%, the $620,000 you had left after getting killed in 2008 would have only grown to a little more than $765,000, still deep in the hole. Not with an IUL. The other part of the catch is, the IUL offers the peace of mind of the account value protecting 0% floor. Zero is your hero. But it does also cap the gains on the upside. That means when the market has a huge growth year, the IUL growth will be capped at somewhere in the 12 to 15% range, depending on the carrier and the contract. Don't bail out on me now. Trust me, this is not a big deal. In fact, quite the opposite. You've probably figured out by now that huge gain years almost always follow what? You got it. Huge loss years. 2003, for instance, was great, 26.38% gain in the S&P 500. But it followed 3 consecutive years, 2000, 2001, and 2002, of negative returns, 10.14, 13.04, and 23.37% respectively. Negative, all 3 years. Let's let the numbers do the talking. If you had $1 million in your IRA on January 1st, 2000, it would have fallen to approximately $899,000 at the end of the first year, then continued to fall to just over $781,000 at the end of 2001, and then plummeted to a measly $599,000 at the end of 2002. That same $1 million in a loss-protected IUL would have retained its worth at $1 million at the end of 2000, even though the market was down, remember? Still been worth $1 million at the end of 2001. And guess what? Still worth $1 million after 2002, even though the market got hammered. It's 3 consecutive down years and $401,000 in avoided losses. Which is more? Now, let's say you were with an IUL carrier in 2003 that had a 13% cap. Remember the big catch? It has a cap. Your $1 million would have grown to $1.13 million. It grew. Meanwhile, the qualified plan portfolio that tanked from $1 million down to just $599,000 would have gotten the full benefit of the 26.3% market gain, not the capped 13% like our IUL contract. Yay! But let me ask you this. Would you rather add 13% to $1 million or 26.38% to $599,000? 26% added to $599,000 only brings the account up to about $756,000. Again, which is more? This is a no-brainer. At the end of the 4-year cycle, you would have been ahead by over $350,000 with an IUL. This is real money in a worst-case scenario. The only way a qualified plan could possibly do better is if the S&P were to grow by over 15% per year for 5 or 10 consecutive years, with no negative years. Do you really think that's going to happen? And even in the 1 in a million chance that it did, get ready to pay the IRS when you retire. Throwing all these numbers around can really start to be a bit overwhelming, but it is critical for you to understand so you can avoid getting ruined financially when you retire. Don't hesitate to watch any part of the DVD again. We need to continue with the examples just a little bit further. We stopped our examples at the end of 2003. Remember, the IUL account that started with $1 million had weathered the storm and had grown to $1.13 million. The IRA account hadn't done so well. It had managed to eke back to $756,000, but only after a really strong 2003. Now, let's take a look at what happened in 2004, 5, 6, and 7. The S&P gained in this order: 8.99, 3, 13.62, and 3.53 in those 4 years. Your IUL account, since it's indexed to the S&P 500, and since 3 of the year's gains were between the 0% floor and the 13% cap, your IUL would have received all of those same gains, 8.99, 3, and 3.53%, and received 13% of the 13.62% from 2006. That would take your $1.13 million account right to just shy of $1.5 million by the end of 2007. Pretty good, right? Then, when the S&P got pummeled by a 38.49% loss in 2008, since the lowest return your IUL account can get is a floor of 0%, guess what? The IUL account would have held steady at $1.5 million. No loss. Nice, isn't it? On the other hand, the IRA account would have grown from $756,000 to around $998,000 during those 4 years. Still down since 2000, just in time to get crushed down to $614,000 at the end of 2008. What would you rather have going into 2009? $614,000 or $1.5 million? Make no mistake, this luxury jet plane isn't for the ultra-conservative. It's a luxury jet plane for the ultra-intelligent. If you think market caps of 12 to 15% are a poor trade-off for a contractual guarantee of a 0% floor, then you need to have your head examined. Naturally, past performance isn't an indicator of future results, but it's safe to say the market is going to have up years and down years. Protecting yourself from huge losses is one of the primary advantages of the IUL. It's impossible to overstate how superior the IUL is compared to your qualified plan. It's not even close. You've already had a crash course in IUL tax advantages. They're clear and evident. Avoiding market risk is huge, and it favors the IUL. By how much does it favor? By a country mile. Remember, as we mentioned earlier, indexed universal life is, remember, life insurance. What that means is, if you die the day after you fund an IUL policy, or any time thereafter, your heirs will receive an income tax-free death benefit. Additionally, while you're alive, the IUL has benefits in the event of a critical, chronic, or terminal illness. The amount of the benefit depends on the size and structure of your policy. But think about your qualified plan and brokerage accounts for just a minute. How much do they pay in insurance benefits if you die or have an illness? Oh yeah, nothing, zero, nada, zilch, because they're not insurance. Are you starting to understand why IUL is the best retirement savings vehicle you've never heard of? There's another reason why you've probably never heard of an IUL before. We've already told you one of the main reasons was that stodgy old insurance companies have horrific communication skills. But there's actually a bigger reason, which is financial advisors almost never talk about IUL. Why is that? Simple math. Only licensed insurance agents can legally sell you an IUL, and most licensed money managers and brokers are not licensed to sell insurance. In other words, the guy who sells you your IRA can't, by law, sell you an indexed universal life policy. And if he can't sell it, he can't make any money on it. That's it. Your financial planner's motivation is to get you signed up for an IRA or a 401k and then make money on you for life, or as long as you remain his client. They don't care about your future tax burden. Why should they? Seriously, call your investment advisor on the phone right now and ask about an IUL. Chances are 99% he or she has never even heard of it, and if they have zero working knowledge of how or why it works. How would they know? They don't know insurance products. They like to think they have the corner on the market of helping people save enough money to retire. But they don't. They're selling skateboards, bicycles, or roller skates and pretending like the big shiny private jet doesn't even exist. When you separate fact from fiction, reality is the IUL is the most comprehensive way to plan for, save for, and protect your future financial security. For most people, and in most situations, it simply cannot be beat for tax advantages, safety, growth potential, liquidity, flexibility, and protection. One more thing, and then we'll let you get back to the licensed insurance professional who gave you this DVD. Last but not least, let's talk about how the IUL works. It is a life insurance policy. You make monthly or annual premium contributions into your account. You can even contribute large lump sums of money to jumpstart the savings potential. You'll need to work with your advisor to determine the optimal amount for your situation. It'll vary depending on how many years you have left until retirement, your financial goals for retirement, and your current financial situation. The money you contribute to an IUL, as we've discussed, will grow on a tax-deferred basis, and unlike a qualified plan, you may access your money anytime, at any age, for any reason you want or need it, without incurring income tax or tax penalties. That's called real flexibility. When you do pass away, the balance of the account will be paid to your beneficiaries income tax-free in the form of a death benefit, just like with any other life insurance policy. It's time to unfriend old plans, because the IUL really does offer the absolute best of all possible scenarios. It's safe from loss. It gives you flexible access to your money at any time for any reason. It's tax-friendly and provides protection. All right, now that you've toured the luxury jet plane, now that you know the luxury jet plane of retirement savings vehicles is available to you, the next step is yours. All you need to do is meet with the licensed insurance professional who gave you this DVD and discuss your specific situation. He or she will answer all of your questions. You may want to consider watching this DVD again. This time, write down any notes or questions you may have. Like anything else worthwhile, there are plenty of details to be covered, and there is a bit of a learning curve. But whatever you do, don't do nothing. You know the old saying, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. You know what we mean. You intend to make the call and learn more, but you get too busy with everyday life, and when you look up, a couple of weeks, a few months, or even years have passed, and you haven't done anything and you've fallen behind. Set that appointment now. Meet with the insurance professional who gave you this DVD and take a closer look at the jet plane of retirement savings vehicles, Index Universal Life. You'll be glad you did.
on our second week, we talked about um, we talked about we talked about there's a little bit of a delay. We talked about how creating a budget, living within your means. And this week, once again, we talked about the 7 universal components and how one individual thing might be in several different categories. So once again, our 7 universal components, all that we need to work on to really generate a true generational wealth is: 1, become debt free; 2, personal development. We'll talk about that next week. We have a very unique presenter. You all have heard of him before, who will be presenting next week. The number 3 thing is really maximizing the tax code. Number 4, having the right investments, as you just saw in the video. The Index Universal Life type policy is a very unique investment tool. It allows you to receive tax-free money. And it also has the benefit of an insurance death benefit as well. That allows you to grow with the market. So that's an example of an investment that you can use to help build wealth. Then number 5, of course, is cash flow, money management, and planning. Number 6, having passive residual income. And number 7, maximizing your business and personal credit. So we're excited about the information that we shared tonight. Information with your friends and your family. I'm excited at some of the comments that we saw. I agree with you, Ginger. This is the best video related to that of an IUL. Make sure as you're posting, make sure you use the Wealthy Wednesday webinar hashtag. You can also include Blender MKTG. So with that, it is now 9:52. I am once again, I'm excited for you all to be here. I hope you learned something. I hope it was something of value. Make sure you invite a friend next week. We're going to really take this thing to the next level starting next week. So with that, God bless you. We'll talk to you all next Wednesday. Have a good evening.